business. And that's why we always tell people it's show business. And you have to make people money. Period. I'm being honest. Whether you're white, black, this is for white people too. You got to make people money. If you're not making people money, nobody is going to work with you because they can't stay open.
Welcome guys, Yaa Somuah here, and today I'm here with an amazing Hollywood producer. She's produced some of the fantastic Hollywood movies. Today she's here in the motherland and she's bringing all her craft to a fantastic movie. We're going to get into that. It is the lovely Miss Angela White.
Hello everyone, how are you? Thank you, Yaa, for having me.
Thank you too. Okay, so I want to get into it. I think yesterday I was checking your stories and then you posted, I think you were behind the scenes with Chris Atto and they were speaking Ga. Yeah. So when it comes to the language, how well are you? Do you try to learn certain languages when you go to a place?
Not yet. I'm around Chris and of course his family, his friends, and they speak Ghan and Tree. So I hear it all the time, but I haven't picked up on it yet. I only know a few words, that's it.
What are the few words?
And then Madase for thank you, and Kwaba for
welcome.
Hello or welcome. I know Charlie, I don't know if that's a Ghan word or not. I hear that all the time.
So I want to talk about Nine, the movie Nine. What attracted you to the story that you said you wanted to produce such a movie?
Yeah, so Nine was written by Erica Joy and Brianna Cole. I started with Erica and Chris, who developed a short film, which wasn't called Nine. It was called Be My Valentine. I read the short and I thought the short was intriguing, and they wanted to shoot it in Accra, Ghana, but I was like, there's no reason to come to Accra, Ghana to shoot a short film. We might as well turn this into a feature. And then myself, Chris, and Erica started working on developing Be My Valentine into Nine. There was never assassins. There were never this whole good versus evil, which is there now. So we developed the script for about 3 months. We added 9 warrior assassins. Now the movie takes place between good versus evil under the backdrop of a crime story. One of the lead actors, Damien D. Smith, plays a detective, and his daughter was killed in Ghana on missionary. And as a result, he comes to Accra, Ghana to try to track down the killer. Unbeknownst to him, he's in the middle of a war between good versus evil. So we developed it more into a sci-fi fantasy action piece from the original Valentine's Day horror it was when I first read it. And I thought this is very different. We've never really seen a lot of independent, at least African-American women, take on a project that has sci-fi, fantasy, action. There's also a little bit of thriller and horror in it. We're dealing with witchcraft, which is very taboo in the American culture, but here in Africa is not as taboo. And so we are exploring elements that we normally wouldn't explore in America. So that's what was exciting about it.
Okay, so I want to talk about working with a diverse cast. So we've got Chris Atto from Ghana, Kate Henshaw from Nigeria, Rosemary Zumu from South Africa. Yes. So bringing them all together, were there some challenges or everybody just seamlessly was able to, because different cultures, different perspectives. How was it like working with a diverse cast?
Yeah, no, the cast was diverse and our crew was Nigerian. So everybody was different, and our crew was French, and we also had American actors. So it was a Pan-African film. The only way for it to work for me as African-American is to have a Pan-African film. It has to be people of color from all over the African diaspora, and that includes people in America as well. So it was very easy. Chris Atto is my partner on this. He's the executive producer along with myself. He's also the director. He's also the star of the movie. So without him, there was no way it would be possible to do this in Accra, Ghana. He's the ambassador to the film. Kate Henshaw is a very close friend of his, so that was very easy to do that call. We did not know Rosemary Zumu, so that was brand new, and she's just beautiful, and that's our lead actress, so that's our number one on the call sheet. She's drives this film. This film starts with her and it ends with her, and so she was just fantastic to work with. We've even done already a little private screening in South Africa a couple months ago, and they just love Rosemary. Rosemary is a darling of South Africa. And then also I brought American actors. So, and that was really good, a great experience for both of them to do an international movie here. And then our crew was pretty much predominantly between Ghana and Ghanaian and Nigerian. And so then we also had people from France. We also had people from Canada. So we had a very diverse set. So this was an international movie for sure. So it was a
Did
mixture.
you do any local auditions?
Yeah, we did. So Mawuku, who's a local casting director here, he's a very big casting director here. He was our local casting director. So we had a whole month of audition.
How was it like seeing people watch your movie at the Joburg Film Festival? What was the reaction?
It was fine. The reaction was very good. You know, the movie wasn't ready. It's still not done. We're still working on the movie, but I still think it was good to get a base of how people would respond to it, even though it wasn't a finished product. And so we're able to go back, make tweaks, changes, and hear very good feedback.
When it comes to production-wise, did you find challenges in terms, because sometimes, financing is a bit of a challenge. Did you find any difficulty when it comes to financing?
Yeah, my company financed the film initially. So initially we had all the money to do the film. So we didn't have those initial challenges financially. We got into financial challenges after we finished the film because there was so much we did more than what we expected. And with that, you always have challenges. Money and time is always a big issue. And with that, you have to just raise new and bring new investors, new producers to the table. And we've been blessed that we've been able to do that.
During the production of 9, I'm still on the 9.
That's right.
During the production of 9, I think during that time, Woman King came. Were you a bit threatening that maybe it might be a little similar? People might think maybe there might be similarities.
Yeah, we never even saw Woman King intentionally. First time we saw Woman King was when I got back to the United States in October. And the writer never saw Woman King. Chris, who's the producer and director, never saw Woman King, neither did myself. So we really had nothing to base it off of because Woman King came out in September. We were still working on ours. And our movie was written almost 7 months before that at that point. So we knew it was going to be nothing similar. It was just two different. Woman King is based kind of a true story. It was just not the same. And then when we saw it after the fact, it was great to see it because now we're like, okay, good, people have seen women on screen being warriors. So it'll be more warmer to seeing our version.
For the industry in Ghana, people have a lot to say about it. You as a producer from America, what do you think about the talent here in Ghana?
Yeah, we found some good talent. So we have definitely probably 50-60% of our cast is Ghanaian. So I think the talent pools here exists. It's just that it's not as big as Nigeria or South Africa.
Okay, so you started off as an entertainment lawyer, and then you moved to a talent manager, and then now production. Now I want to talk about when you're in a career. Sometimes people say you need to stick to a niche and then it would work out. But sometimes, how do you know maybe, you know what, this is not the right part, I want to try this? When do you balance or you reinvent yourself, to say the least? How do you know when to reinvent yourself?
Yeah, I think when it's not working anymore. So you have to be well diverse in multiple areas anyway. I don't care what field you're in. If you're in entertainment, you should be able to know how to do a little bit of everything in entertainment. So I've only, for the most part, been in entertainment. In entertainment, most of us wear like 10 hats. So for us, we can pivot at any moment from one side to the other side, and that makes us a better filmmaker.
So would you go back to entertainment law?
Wow, I've never stopped law.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they all go hand in hand. One doesn't separate from the other. I do all our own contracts for our own production. So it's a skill set, and you should have multiple skill sets in any profession that you do. If you're a one-trick pony, you'll die. You literally will die. You'll get AIs coming around. You literally will not have a job soon. So you have to know how to do multiple things, and you have to be really ahead of the curve. So for entertainment, we all do multiple hats. That's not uncommon. That's the only way you can survive. For other fields and other professions, let's say somebody is a teacher and now they want to become an engineer, you just always, when you know it's the time, it's right, you just pivot. And you got to pivot immediately.
For someone who's worked with many actors in Hollywood and everything, I want to talk about ageism when it comes to the entertainment industry. Sometimes it takes a while for people to get their big break. I think for acting, no matter your age, you can still get a job. But in other entertainment fields, how do you think a person can handle the age-wise? Because there's always young and fresh talent. Now there's TikTok, where people are being discovered there. How can people still harness their craft and still be known in the entertainment space?
Yeah, I think this is the year of ageism doesn't exist anymore. Whether it's, everybody's championing Cheryl Lee Ralph, who's just in your country literally a couple weeks ago with Vice President Kamala Harris, and she's in her 60s championing. You had Viola Davis at 55 years old. She's not 55 now, but she was 55 when she did Woman King, whose body was better than a 20-year-old. I really think all those myths have been demystified. You know, we have Michelle Yeoh, who just broke ground as an Asian American for her culture, for her people, and she's much older. So if anything, it's been proven very nicely in the last year, age really is not playing a major factor. Nobody's using that excuse anymore. It's not an excuse. It's impossible to say it's an excuse, because really the older people are getting, they're winning.
How about where you're from? Say someone from Ghana. Let me just use a name like Ama. She's talented. She studied theater arts in school, but she hasn't got that opportunity yet. Even in the country, she hasn't got that opportunity yet. How can a Hollywood producer like you discover her? She doesn't have a big social media following. So how can a Hollywood producer like you discover her? What would be your tips?
First, you need to make sure you are super famous in your own country. You have to.
And how do you do that?
Yeah, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. I always tell people, before you try to go to a big lake, because Hollywood's a lake, a river, or ocean, whatever. You need to first be big in your pond. And if you're not big in your pond, people are going to wonder why. Because that's the easiest place to become big in, right? So you got to really do the work. You got to push yourself outside of Ghana as well. You should be working in Nigeria. You should be working in South Africa. Africa has a lot going on. Saying basically you have to have a mentor. That's crucial, because you're entering a field that you know nothing about. And again, a lot of people don't realize success means intelligence, right? So if I want to be a heart doctor tomorrow, would I dare try to become a doctor without speaking to a cardiologist? That's impossible. Even if I go on to medical school, I still have to train, and it's required, at least in the United States, under other doctors to learn. And so a lot of times, some of these things are just basic common sense to me. If you want to get in the industry, you have to seek out people who are in the industry to mentor you. It's impossible not to do it. And that goes for actors, producers, directors, writers, everybody.
So how do you approach? You don't want to look like a stalker. You don't want to look like. So how do you think you can approach somebody in production, or even in the entertainment space?
Yeah, people approach people all the time. The most organic way I always tell people is film festivals.
Okay.
Film festivals, you can meet anybody, and so people are open to meeting you. So that's the most organic way. Schools where 90% of people meet their mentors, because they're in the same field. And so it's just so many ways. Organizations, if you're in an organization, there's writers groups, there's producer groups, there's so many groups out here. It's crazy. If you go on Facebook and just put what you're looking for, there's going to be a group for it. And so networking is key. Relate. You're only as good as your relationships.
Being on set for a long time, coming back to your normal life, how do you adjust? Maybe your alarm goes off at a certain time, and then now it has to. You kind of have to adjust. So how do you adjust to normal life when after production?
Yeah, it just naturally happens.
It naturally happens.
Just naturally happens. You sleep, you get your rest, and you're right back on it. So it's a natural thing. It's I always tell people, when you're shooting, it's like a supernatural element takes over, where you're up longer than normal, and you're working longer hours, and then when it stops, your body just stops with it. Your body doesn't stop until you stop. And then your body will get this rest, whether you sleep long one day or you sleep a couple extra hours, and then you naturally just reset your whole body back.
I know you're a woman of faith. I believe that you were like the first African American woman to produce a faith-based movie, if I'm correct.
Well, to come out in theaters.
Yes,
so I'm not the first to produce a faith-based, but the one that was independently done to come out in theaters, and that was called A Question of Faith.
Okay. Now, when it comes to Christianity, how are you able to balance that into your movies now? Because sometimes you want to get all sectors involved, but then how do you preach a little bit of God into your movies?
Yeah, so let me be clear. I'm not a secular producer. So there's difference in secular and non-secular. I'm just an overall producer. I produce all types of content. I produce contents of faith and contents that are not of faith. Very important for people to understand that, because there's some producers who only do faith-based content. I'm not a faith-based content producer. I've done 2 faith-based movies, but I don't box myself that way. So I'm somebody who's in all the worlds as far as producing content, because that's the only true way to be a successful filmmaker. Faith-based is great, but that's very small. It's a small box of people that you're catering to, and so your reach is smaller, and that's good. So when we do a faith-based movie, we cater to that audience. But in general, I'm catering to everybody, because I want my vision and work I do to be seen by everybody. The moment you say you're a Christian producer, you have already cut off probably about 80% of people who don't want to hear it, don't want to say it. And so and I'm very proud of some of my colleagues.
Have you thought about how you can make God look cool?
No, I have a lot of Christian friends, filmmakers, who do only Christian-based content, and very proud of the work they do, but you'll probably never know who they are because, again, it's catered to a very small group of people. To really break barriers and ground, as what I have to do as an African-American woman, I have to reach everybody. It's not an option. You know, there's too much for African Americans filmmakers. We're just breaking ground in the world that the whole world is watching. You know what Tyler Perry's doing, nobody in the world is doing. Period. There's just too many people. Oprah's done, nobody in the world is done. There's just too many people. We're getting a new billionaire from Puffy just became a billionaire. 50 Cent was a billionaire. Jay-Z now is a billionaire. Rihanna's now a billionaire. It's just African American domination is happening in such a level that we know we have to go hard. We got to get every consumer. And remember, it's a consumer. It's a product. Film entertainment is a product. I need people in China to like my products, whether they're Muslim, Buddhist, or Christian, just like I need people in Scotland. And that's important because historically, we have a lot of ground to catch up. And so I think as a whole, African Americans, we don't like putting ourselves in boxes. We have too much work to do. And we have to reach everybody. It's just we're, from a historical perspective, have been way behind for a long time, and we're catching up fast and furious. I'm so proud of African American filmmakers because we're doing things in ways that are unbelievable. You know, Tyler Perry became a billionaire in 15 years.
Do you think Ghanaians can get there?
It's the work. It's the work ethic. You just got to put the work ethic at it. You really
do. We have the work ethic?
I don't know. It's an individual thing.
Okay.
I think what all those people I just named all have in common is they all grew up very poor. And I think for some reason, for a lot of African Americans, that's fuel.
You're hungry for the success.
They're fueled. Like Steve Harvey always talks about it. He don't ever want to be poor again. You know, him, Monique, everything. You hear very successful people talk about how that really bothered them growing up with nothing. And I noticed that I didn't grow up that way. I grew up middle class. So even for me, sometimes when I know I'm working with somebody who grew up from a different economic status, I know I'm like, okay, well, you're going to have to really dig in deep because that person is going to outwork you most of the time because they don't know what it's like not to have certain things or to have certain things, where sometimes wealth can create comfortability, which could be used against you. And you'll see that a lot. People who grew up not poor, who get comfortable. And then somebody who didn't have anything goes right past them. All the time you'll see it. So I think when you don't have a lot, that should be fuel for fire. To never want to be there again. Never. Like whatever you have to do. And I always tell people that you can do whatever you want to do. There's nothing stopping anybody at this point. Like everything is open. So for example, we recently had an Asian actor win an Oscar. You probably heard about it. He came to America on a boat. Did you guys hear that story? Okay. Like how do you compete with that? If somebody came to our country, if they came on a boat, that means they were a refugee. They might have also been illegal, and now they're winning an Oscar. Okay, come on now. People ain't gonna people are not trying to hear excuses because we just can't make them anymore because there's too many people who have clawed and scraped, and just to get to America, they might have had 2 cents. They got there, and then you hear the success stories, and they're always so uplifting. And that's why I love hearing people's success stories because it lets you know anything you want to do, you can. Normally, finances would have stopped us, but now there's people out there who will give you money to do your dreams.
Those people.
You got to find them. They got to buy into you. Remember, you're a product. You're a product, right? So you're always selling who? You're selling yourself. People buy into people. They never buy the product. It's never what you think. If you like an iPhone, you're buying into Apple. That's what you're buying into. Whatever you like, that's what you're buying into. We'll use Tyler Perry as an example. People are not necessarily, I don't think, buying into that particular content. They're buying into Tyler Perry. So if he puts something out, people run and go see it. And so remember, once you start treating yourself as a product, then you have to learn how to pitch and market yourself as a product. People only write a check to something that they think is going to be successful. Even for me, when I have to raise money, which I'm always raising money, I have to sell myself. The people don't care what the movie's about. That has nothing to do with anything. Because the movie's only going to do as well as what? The person. You could have the best idea, but if you don't have your stuff together, if you just have a bad presentation, if you don't know what you're doing, you're not a good investment. Right? You're not going to be a good investment to somebody. If somebody says, okay, everything that person does turns into something good, or they do something well with it, or they always get back a return, whatever they're doing, I'll write a check for it. Because people love underdogs. People love to help people who don't have it, and that's just the truth of it, but they also want to make sure they're prepared. And that's why I tell people you got to do the basic training of just being prepared, because you can easily meet people and pitch yourself, but if you don't have some of the skill sets to present yourself right, you can miss an opportunity. And people do. You have to learn it. I had to learn it.
So I know you do a master class on the backstage.
Yeah, I have my own school.
So what are your tips when it comes to branding yourself in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, I have a whole class on the art of branding, and I have a little book on it as well. So branding is really key, and I always tell people, treat yourself like a product. If you like McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, I'll just name the same things that you have out here because you have Burger King, KFC, whatever you like, you got to look at yourself as a product. That means you have to have your logo, that means you have to have your marketing materials, that means you have to have a look, you should even know your theme colors, you should even have a slogan. You should be a brand, a product. Before to be a brand, you got to be the product. You should have professional headshots, you should have a professional bio, you should have a website. These are basic things. If you don't even have these basic things, there's no way, why should anybody write you a check? These are, and I really say these are basic, because you can do a website on GoDaddy.com for like $2, okay? So nowadays, I have a whole book on this, the days of thinking you need all this money to do stuff are over. Social media has destroyed them. So when I was starting out, we had no social media, we didn't even have internet. Now social media, you can go out there and market yourself online, whether it's IG, TikTok, Facebook, whatever you want to use. LinkedIn is nothing but professionals. And you can just market yourself for 5 cents, literally, and get people to buy into you. And that's what we love about social media, because we have all these instant stars, even YouTube, where your channel is.
I also want to talk about that. What do you think about casting directors, casting social media influencers just to get the numbers or just to get the seats and everything? And maybe they're not so talented, but they have the numbers, they have the millions of followers. But then there are other people who went to school and studied it, but they don't get that opportunity. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there's a purpose for it, because again, this is a business, right? So if I need to put people in the seats, who am I going to put in the seats? People who can get people in the seats. And that's why you have to build yourself as a product. Again, if you're not making money,
even if they're not good,
even if you're not making money, I can't continue. So if I have McDonald's, just use McDonald's, and nobody comes to eat at my restaurant, but I have the best hamburger cook and the best person who makes the French fries, is McDonald's going to stay open? No, it's a business. And that's why we always tell people, it's show business. And you have to make people money. Period. I'm being honest. Whether you're white, black, this is for white people too. You got to make people money. If you're not making people money, nobody is going to work with you, because they can't stay open. And so the purpose of why social media stars are doing well, and they have risen, and a lot of them have turned over to actors. That's happening drastically, where they're getting acting coaches and they're becoming actors. I've worked with a lot of social media stars, and it works for its purpose, is because they put the work into building the following. For those trained actors in particular, let's say, who don't like social media, and there's a lot who don't like social media, they work differently. Their work is doing auditions. Their work is going after their craft, and they're still successful in that regard too. So one is not different than the other to me. I think at the end of the day, it's a business. And no matter how good of actor you are, if I could put your name on a poster and nobody comes to the theater, nobody cares about you. They're going to care about me, the producer, and then I just lost the distributor a whole lot of money.